Hello and welcome back to First Impressions. This is a show where my co-host Dash Hooper and I evaluate a new album each week, one that we've never heard before, and after our first listen, we rate it using a variety of categories. So the album we're going to be looking at tonight is Dummy, the 1994 album by Portishead. So Dash, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. This was something else. We'll get into it, but I'm ready to talk about this. I'm ready to talk about this album.
Yes, for sure. It was one of those things where I had to remove in our notes that we played only once because we don't play it only once. So I'm like, we play it once and take our notes, and then we got to play it again and kind of reevaluate certain things and certain feelings. Songs might grow on you, songs might shrink on you. I always put it to the running test, and spoiler alert, this one does not pass the running test. But that doesn't make it a bad album. The running test isn't what indicates if it's a good or bad album, because it's like, how often am I going to revisit the Lady Gaga album we listened to last week? But it did pass the running test because the beats moved. It had good movement for keeping me moving along the pavement. But that's not what we say an album is good or bad on. But I did a lot of research this week. I actually listened to a lot of different podcasts, went all over the internet to try to find out about the history of the artist. I think after our 8-paragraph rebuttal of our opinion, I'm like, I will not fuck up the research. You don't have to like my opinion, but the research will not be the reason that you get angry at me. Like, okay, you can call me all the names in the world. You can call me all the ages in the world. I don't care. But my research, I will make sure it's solid, because that's the one thing I have control over in all of this, is making sure that my research is sound. Even though looking at her thing, I don't think I got it wrong. But if I did, then I will make sure it doesn't happen again. So let's dig into the history of this artist. So Portishead, let me get into this. Portishead was formed in Bristol, England by Jeff Barrow. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong or right. I'll go Barrow. I'm going to stick with that. And if I'm wrong, then come at me. It's okay. I might be pronouncing it right. And Beth Gibbons. They met on a coffee break at an enterprise allowance course, which I had to research what that was. It's a course that they did in England for people who were unemployed. And the intent was to retrain the unemployed people in England so that they could start their own businesses. So they were both enrolled in this program, and on a coffee break they met. And Jeff, he had been working as a tape runner for Massive Attack and Tricky. So that's, putting the tape in and getting the things moving. And he was then influenced by that hip hop inspired music, trip hop. But the Massive Attack and Tricky, their trip hop, it goes more along the lines of dub and reggae. And Jeff decided he wanted to work on his own music. And he heard Beth sing and decided that she was going to be a part of this band. And they named it Portishead, which is after the town that Jeff grew up in. And if you listen to him in interviews, he does not have a great fondness for the town Portishead. It's not like, I'm naming it after the town I love, but if you've heard their music, it's kind of morose and somber, and that's what he thought of the town itself. So before they created their first album, they recorded a movie, a short film called To Kill a Dead Man. And I watched it so that you don't have to, audience. It is available on YouTube. It is 10 minutes. And as you open the video, they fully apologize, basically saying, we set out to make a movie and we didn't know what we were doing and we didn't realize just how difficult it was. But it's kind of this weird black and white spy film, and I still don't know what the hell happened in it. It's silent aside from the
silent
sound,
film, yeah.
but the soundtrack is what actually got them their record deal. So this image from the cover, it's kind of blurred out like the film is, but it's Beth Gibbons tied up in a chair with blood on her face, and that particular image is what was from the movie when she gets captured. And does she die? Does she live? Then she drives away. I don't know. It is a bonkers ass mess of a movie. I remember it made me think of, and this might get me attacked by some Portishead purist who thinks that movie's brilliant. But last year, my daughter, she was in her broadcast club at her school, and each broadcast club made their own movie, and we had to go to the movie theater and watch all the 8th grade movies on the big screen. This feels like the equivalent of those 8th grade movies that I had to watch. Of course, you're excited about your daughters, but the rest of them, the other 2 hours, it's just like it was pure torture. No offense to the kids, they were 8th graders, they did a good job, but the Portishead guys looked like they were making on the equivalent level of those 8th graders.
Yeah,
with special effects, with the poor acting, but the soundtrack what got them noticed. The soundtrack was heard by the record label. What is the name? Go Beat Records. They heard the soundtrack to the film and they signed them immediately. So after that, they recorded for 18 months and released their debut album, Dummy. And I'll talk more about the album and the recording process when we get into the history of the album. So after that album, it had huge acclaim. They were instantly famous in England. They were instantly known on MTV. They played them a lot during like 120 minutes. You would see the Sour Times video and things like that. And because of that, they hated it. They did not want to be famous. They did not want to be in the spotlight. So they just kind of disappeared for a few years and didn't record the follow-up to Dummy until 1997. And that was a self-titled album, just Portishead. And after that one was released, they toured a little bit, but not extensively. They played some one-off shows in different cities and then focused on solo projects, and then disappeared again until 2007 when they released the aptly titled album their third album. And after that, they didn't do much. They played, they were headlining one of the days at Coachella. I remember that. And my thought and hope was, okay, they're playing one night at Coachella. Hopefully they'll play a regular tour. But that was the only US date for the entire album. They haven't played in the US since. Beth Gibbons just released a solo album, and she's playing Coachella again, but also playing LA. So I'm thinking I might bite on that one. She's playing next month in a night excuse me, get some water here. In a nicer venue in LA. So I will probably suck it up and drop the $100 and go see Beth Gibbons do her solo tour. So that's kind of the quick history of the band. When that album was released, their 2007 album Third, they played dates here and there. They played some of the bigger festivals, especially the European ones, and I guess kind of Coachella. That's I'd say the biggest US festival. There's other ones. There's Bonnaroo, there's Lollapalooza, but Coachella is kind of the one that all the celebrities flock to, if nothing else.
Right.
I stopped going years ago when it became the hipster fest, and it's one of those things where I thought, oh, Portishead will play some regular shows. They're not going to just play Coachella. I was incorrect, but you never know. So, little history of the album itself. So, Dummy, as I said earlier, it was released in 1994 and it was recorded over 18 months. So it was actually released August 22nd, 94, and was inspired by the trip hop acts that he had been working with, Massive Attack and Tricky. And it also incorporated in the band members, especially Jeff's love of retro spy movies and their soundtracks and the soundtracks of spaghetti westerns. And you can absolutely hear that in this album. And it also has a variety of analog recording techniques that were kind of unseen at the time. So they would record the instruments on analog and record them onto vinyl. So they would have a vinyl recording of just the drums, just the bass, just the guitars. And then they would take that vinyl album that they pressed and scuff it up, like throw it around, scratch it up, just mess it all up, and then re-record it again with all the scuffs and the things. And you can hear kind of vinyl pops and ticks if you listen carefully with this album. So when it was released, as I said earlier, it was released to critical acclaim. It won the Mercury Prize, which is the British equivalent of a Grammy Award.
Grammy,
so
yeah.
It won their highest honor. They got Best New Artist. So they were immediately just, thrust into fame because of this album. And it reached number 2 on the UK charts. And in the US, even though it was lesser known, lesser played, it sold over 150,000 copies. So I'm sure in the UK it sold more. I couldn't find the exact numbers, but in the US it sold 150,000. And that's pretty big, because it wasn't like this song, this album was getting constant play on MTV. It was more relegated to like 120 minutes, which I would actually record that every Sunday, because it's Sunday late at night. I would record it and watch it the next day, because that's where you'd see kind of the good stuff going on MTV, not just the pop stuff. That's where you can not have to see Limp Bizkit or any of that bullshit. You would see,
that was your alternative stuff. Yeah, it was.
So that's the only place you'd see a Built to Spill video, for example. I remember the first time I heard a Built to Spill was thanks to 120 minutes. Or honestly, Beavis and Butthead were onto some good shit. They would play some good music on there. Granted, they're gonna make fun of it and trash it, so you don't really get a great exposure. But I know that Mike Judge was a huge indie music fan, so he's probably trying to showcase that. But of course, Beavis and Butthead are just going to make fun of it, so you're not getting the true exposure. But they did play some good stuff. I don't know if they ever played the Portishead song, but yeah, 120 minutes. That was kind of where I sought out what was going on, because generally that stuff wouldn't get played in the regular. I know they ended up like Alternative Nation or something. They had another show that would play kind of the 120 minute stuff during the daytime. And that's where you might see the Portishead, the Sour Times especially. I remember seeing that video. So reviews of the album, I found it was on Metacritic and it received a 92. So very high ratings on Metacritic, generally praised by all of the people that looked at it. I didn't find any negative reviews, especially the real-time reviews. But then, of course, the retrospective reviews, like we've talked about, they're always going to be glowing. So Pitchfork gave it a 9.5, but their review came much later than 1994, because Pitchfork wouldn't have existed in 1994, because it's a purely online platform. And if you anyone who's old enough to remember what it was like trying to look and read any article in 1994, that was tedious shit. It was, if you wanted to read one review from Pitchfork, it was going to take you 20 minutes to download it, just because it had an image of the cover on it, and then it's going to buffer the whole way through. So yeah, if those of you too young to remember trying to stream anything in 1994, oh my gosh, it was a nightmarish task. And I think in 1994, the only internet I would have had access to would have been at my college, and even that wasn't great. I mean, the dial-up was absolute garbage, but I don't think I even had home internet until probably around 96. I was
gonna say 96.
And that was, I had, if you remember it, web TV, and that was like, okay, think of your worst and slowest dial-up that exists and cut that in half, and there's your web TV. But it connected to the TV. I didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
1994, most of us couldn't afford a good computer. I was living on my own. It was me and my wife in a tiny little apartment, and I had a word processor so I could type all my essays for college, but computer, we're not rich. What the hell are you talking about? We live on ramen and frozen burritos. We're not buying a fucking computer, but yeah. Web TV, it was like $199 at the time. I'm like, all right, I'm going to save up. I'm going to get, Web TV. And oh my gosh, talk about slow, tedious, painful, but I had the internet. So I was one step above some of the other people that didn't have it. But yeah, nothing was fast at that particular time. So, hey, Grant, how is it going? Thanks for tuning in today. So yeah, we're talking about, if you're tuning in late, we're talking about Portishead's Dummy. We're kind of still hitting our history. So yeah, love Portishead. I didn't know much about Portishead before this, besides kind of like we were talking about 120 minutes, but yeah, they've converted me. But we're gonna have to talk about, I was sitting there. I was just writing metaphors on the couch, and my wife's just laughing at me. I'm like, okay, here's a good metaphor. Here's a good metaphor. So yes, Portishead, inspiration of couch metaphors. So yes, once we dig in, I will start. But yes, we talked about the reviews, overwhelmingly positive, but a lot of the reviews say kind of the same things we're going to talk about. So I don't want to really go into the reviews, because I'm sure Dash and I will both kind of be talking about the same things when we dig into this. But yeah, so what's he saying?
Silencio.
Okay.
Yeah, they popped up when I was doing research on Portishead today. So yeah.
All right, Grant, I will check them out. And yeah, we've already actually, for this round of albums, is all picked and set up. And we have some guests that have signed up for a few. So Sarah, who was on, she'll be joining us when we talk about one of our albums. And then Chuck, who joined us when we were talking about, what's his face? Oh, Dash.
That was Gordon Lightfoot.
Chuck, yeah, thank you, Dash.
Chuck joined us for Gordon.
Yeah, so Chuck joined us for Gordon. He's going to be joining us for one of our albums as well, but we don't give them away. You got to find out what's going on each week. So yeah, Chuck will be joining us. Sarah will be joining us. So should have some fun guests. But today, it's the two of us, and we're going to dig in now to our overall thoughts of the album. We always start with our overall thoughts, and then we kind of dig into favorite tracks. But actually, I forgot our history of this band. So what's your history of Portishead before today?
But before you even mentioned nothing, I was at the time when this album came out, I was in Panama. I was stationed in Panama. So you got the Armed Forces Network, or you got Panamanian music. So that was it. That's all I got. So this wouldn't have been played. And Armed Forces Network is definitely all top 40 at the time. So didn't even get that. So this is my first dealing with them. I didn't even know what trip hop was until this album. Again, because a lot of that trip hop was when I was in high school and spent most of my time overseas in the military. So I didn't even know this was even a genre. But I will say that I'm glad that we did dive into this album. So when we come up to my first thoughts, I'll tell you all about that. But my history is very limited. But yeah, that's where we stand right now.
Yeah, for me, I kind of go with, I knew Sour Times. I knew it from 120 Minutes. And I really love Massive Attack. Mezzanine is a freaking flawless album. I love that album so much. I think I recommended that one to you when you were asking for albums.
Yes, you did.
On Facebook, and it is such a good album. But
it's loaded in the queue.
Deeply explore trip hop, and it's one of those things I don't know why. Because anytime I hear a good trip hop album, I love it, but I don't dig further. And now, I'm going to definitely check out the one that Grant suggested. I'll check out that band, and then Tricky is another one that comes up a lot. I listened to him. I saw him. He was at one of the Lollapaloozas that I went to, and just blew the friggin' stage up. He was so good. And I bought his album. I think it's Maxinque, or I don't know how it's pronounced. And then Pre-Millennium Tension. So I listened to Tricky. I listened to the Massive Attack albums. But for some reason, never ventured into the Portishead albums, even though I knew they were trip hop. I knew they were a well-revered trip hop band. But I just, for some reason, didn't start listening to them. And that's why I thought that would be a perfect one to explore, because I like the trip hop that I've heard. I enjoy. I mean, granted, trip hop got kind of watered down as anything does when it got popular, and you got, you know, God Lives Underwater and stuff like that. And it's not even that that's terrible, but it just, you know, it's not as good as it was, because the main big trip hop bands were all from Bristol. So they were all from kind of an ugly place in England. They say self-proclaimed ugly. I mean, if you live in Bristol, I'm sure it's a perfectly beautiful place, but I'm going by the band's impression of it. They definitely don't speak about it with high regards.
I got the grunge, like, you know, grunge all started in Seattle. So yeah, this is kind of, you know, as doing my research, trip hop being all from Bristol. So I could, you know, I like that, you know, there's certain music that starts in one place and that's where it stays, and then finally it'll branch out if it wants to. But
once it gets popular enough, it branches out. So this is, I guess, Bristol's kind of the trip hop's Seattle. This is where it all started. And, you know, the Manchester, I think of that Manchester would be, I think that's where like Joy Division and a lot of those bands came from. Forgive me if I'm wrong, because this is not part of my research, so I'm just speaking off the top of my head. But yeah, Bristol is definitely the birthplace of trip hop. And even when Jeff was just coming up, he's not even a music artist yet. He's just running tapes. He's doing it for these trip hop bands. So he's hearing this new sound kind of emerge. And it started with the first Massive Attack album, but he took it in a different place with the things that he loves. And that's, of course, those 60s spy films, the spaghetti westerns, and, you know, kind of ran it through the filter of something new. So, all right. So yes, this album is perfect. It is we're not here to trash this album. So if you're looking for us, I don't know. I will not speak for Dash, but I think
no, I'm not here to trash this one at all.
We didn't talk a lot backstage. We saved it for the show. We talked about books and, you know, our other ventures of creativity. So we were talking a little bit about that. But yeah, I love this album as well. And if you want to chime in when we start talking about our favorite songs, definitely let us know which ones you love as well, because I agree. Love this album. Kind of spoilers ahead, but now we are on that part of the show where we're going to talk about our overall thoughts before we dig into what songs we loved and everything. This is one of those ones I truly wish we could play segments of, because hearing them will really create impact. And I say it a lot, but I'm working on getting this up for Spotify. And on Spotify, we'll be able to add not huge clips, but we can add 20-second clips. And when we do that, you can really get the impact of just how this album grabs you and, you know, pulls you into not a happy place. You're not going to be dancing around. Although a fun fact about this album is it's considered by so many that they even got asked in interviews to be a really good album to make love to. And it's a great makeout album. I'm like, did you listen to this album? It's dark shit, man. You're gonna make out to that. You're gonna be trying to love your partner, and you're gonna just start crying.
No, you don't.
I don't get it.
And
they even asked in Australia, like, what makes this album so great to shag to? They asked the band, and they're like, we don't know what makes this album so great to shag to, but in my research, that's one of the things I found, that it is generally considered a makeout album, and, you know, taking it beyond the make out and beyond. We'll call it that to not get flagged for being too crude here. But yes, a horny album. I've called many albums that. This album, although the band would not say that, the fan base has kind of adopted it as that. And honestly, I'm going to say this. I don't get it. My wife was sitting on the couch listening to this album with me, and I was not inspired to start making out. I mean, no offense to my wife, but neither one of us were thinking, damn, this album's just doing it for me. No, it's like we were listening to it. It was moving. It was beautiful, but was it the album that we just thought like, yeah, I couldn't take notes. I couldn't keep my notes going because we had to make out first. No, but
yeah, no.
But that is the reputation it has, for better or worse. The band didn't agree with that reputation either, but there it is. It lives in that world. So I don't know. Maybe I missed it on my first listen and subsequent ones, but okay, enough of that. Dash, what are your overall thoughts?
Oh, I mean, if you had not said that he was inspired by 60s spy movies, 70s spy, the spy movies, I would have told you he is, because when you get to that second song,
Sour Times,
that is straight up a James Bond. Like if you're listening to, the opening theme to a James Bond movie, when you get Sheena Easton or you get those people singing those opening songs, that is an opening song for James Bond right away, and you're automatically going, yeah. And that immediately, I love the first song. Don't get me wrong. I thought Mysterions was great, but Sour Times, man, and it brings you in, and you're just going, yep, I'm ready for this album, 100%. And you're just like, it flows. You're at no point am I disappointed. At no point with this album do I go, what is going on here? Like I told my wife, I was like, this is not an album I would have reached for on the shelves at first, but now that I've heard it, if it comes on the radio, I'm not changing the station.
Yeah,
I'm not, because I really enjoyed the music. And again, while it's dark, but there's still times where my head's going, yep.
Yeah, it can still pass the bobbing test, not the run test. Nope, it failed the run test miserably because it's just not running music in any capacity. But the bob test, you can, because the backbeats, the hip hop backbeats, give it that. Still, you get that movement. You don't hear that. This is not music for the clubs. Last week, the Lady Gaga album, that's for the clubs. This album would fail miserably in the clubs. Like, all right, you want to make everyone stop dancing. I mean, actually, no, never mind. They'll all start making out according to the lore of this album. So yeah, if you want the club to get horny quick, put on this album. But you're not going to get much dancing, but you can still kind of move your head. You can still, you feel those rhythms. I love the thing about trip hop that I love is that you put those backbeats of hip hop music in there into completely different vibes of music. And it works so well. But yeah, so for me, I said it's just a masterwork of dark cinematic music. Like you hear this playing in so many different movies when you want to get that dark scene. So from the opening notes, it just builds a beautifully morose atmosphere. I mean, it is dark. Turn off the lights. Don't play this one in daylight. If they ever have to play those, outdoor festivals, they better be playing in the dark because they just deserve darkness for their set. And my first couch metaphor was, I said it feels like a long drive through a dark tunnel that exits out into a rainstorm. It's just, it never gets lighter. You never get that moment of light, but that it doesn't make it bad. I mean, when we played the Godspeed You Black Emperor album, that's another one. It's just swelteringly dark, but beautiful at the same time. And, that's kind of why I love it. It's not like, if you're looking for sunny day, road trip music, you're not tossing this one on. But if you're driving through the mountains in the dark, you know what? This might set it, because one of my best things was when I was driving through Arizona. We were leaving the Grand Canyon, middle of a lightning storm, and Godspeed You Black Emperor is playing. It's like, this just works. And this album would work in the lightning storm through Dark Phoenix, like that. This would be another one. Like now I can create that dark lightning storm playlist. This one's going right up there.
If I was doing a John Wick movie, this entire album would be in the John Wick movie.
Yeah.
because especially Numb, and we're going to talk about Numb here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you want to talk, I want James Bond Numb. Listen, Amazon, since you purchased James Bond franchise, Amazon, if you're hearing me, I need a James. I know the book was never written. You can spread it. You can spread your wings and create new movies. I need a James Bond movie set to Numb.
Yeah, there you go.
Plain
That's what
simple.
we need. And sadly, the director that needed to direct it is no longer with us because I want the James Bond Numb as directed by David Lynch. That's the movie that I want to see right there. I want the David Lynch spy movie because that's what this is the soundtrack to. Right. This would be like the perfect, if David Lynch were around, I want to see his vision of a weird ass spy movie that's scored by Massive Attack. So whoever's going to take the spot of David Lynch as the new king of weird, we need you to direct this movie. And
somebody
that's what we need to see.
Yep.
All right. So I think we're both in agreement. We liked this album and we kind of came in both in the same way. We came in without deep knowledge of it, but that's why I had to remove we can only play it once because we've been breaking that rule since our first album. So it's time to redact it. It's gone.
We could listen to it once, like you said. We could listen to it once and make our notes about what the album is, and then go back. And so I still agree that we listen to it once, and then
all of it's once, but then we play it again. Like all my notes always come from the first listen. But even the song, the Lady Gaga song that I said was kind of meh to me last week. As I listened to it more, it kind of grew on me. So it's like, all right, on your first, it's literally the first impression. But any of these songs can grow on you. Or they can grow off you. You can have a song that you love the first time, and you're like a couple listens in, you're like, it's losing it for me. Where I don't think this one was in that category. I didn't feel none of the songs grew off me, but there's albums that can happen to. I don't think we've had any. Maybe grow on me, none that grew off me, because it's generally if I don't like it the first time, maybe I'll like it a little more as we go on. But I'm not going to hear it and be like, I love that. Never mind, I don't. Unless. Some problematic lyrics or something that I didn't catch the first time. But yes, I found another album that didn't come with lyrics inside, which is driving me crazy. But my daughter gave me a good hack for that one. We played on the TV through Spotify, but listen to the vinyl. So that way you can see the lyrics scrolling on the screen. Syncing, it's a pain in the damn ass. But
yeah.
It's better than nothing. It's better than a non-existent lyric sheet and trying to read it on my phone. So it's like, all right, you'll never quite get it right, especially because albums take a little longer pause than the Spotify pause. So it was like, pause the TV, try to get them synced up again. But my wife was running the lyric syncing, so I could make my notes and sit and make the couch metaphors.
Excellent.
All right, so we're going to go best song. We'll say plural here because I know I had more than one for sure, but what were some of your favorite songs on this one?
Oh, I've already Numb is number one, the best song on this album. It Could Be Sweet was pretty good. Sour Times is pretty good. And I liked Roads. Those are my top four. But Numb again, and like I said, Sour Times comes in, but I know it's an excellent song, but Numb. You're just the entire time. Her voice is haunting, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Especially with the synthesizers and the beats and the all the music mixed in together. So you're just like, and I if I say this, I don't mean this as an insult or anything like that, but I like Amy is to Evanescence.
Yeah,
she is to Portishead, plain and simple. There is your like her voice just goes with every song. And Numb was the one that did it for me. But I could sit there and listen to this album. And like you said, I had Numb on repeat probably like 5, 6, 7 times. Just to continuously hear that song. But I think it opens up fine. Mysterions is fine. It's it brings you into the album. You really get going on Sour Times, and then it's just a great lineup of songs. This is one of the ones where I didn't have. This is one where I didn't have any issues with the way that they laid the tracks. Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
But Numb was just the best song. And then again, like I said, I liked Roads, and all those were great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I start with Mysterions. I love it. It's just, this is their moment that the world, this is their moment to be heard by the world, and it's a beautiful way to do it. You just kind of get that hip hop beat that drops in. You get the kind of scratched up notes, now knowing that they're actually scratched up records that they're playing. And the Rolling Stone review described it as gothic hip hop, and I'm like, that's it. It's gothic hip hop. It's a dark and cinematic, and just,
it's got that theremin. It's got that theremin album, or that theremin instrument that I,
that's
I can't do it,
instrument.
But yes, yes,
it's
loved
just
it.
that instrument. When you want something creepy, you throw that in there, and it just kind of marries with Beth's voice, which is just, I described it as a delicately haunted voice, because it's just, she's not Adele. She's not going to be like, let me belt out this thing and let me shake the room with the power of my voice. Like, no, her voice can shake the room just as much at a barely audible whisper. She has the power to shake you in a different way, where it's like, okay, Adele's and Whitney Houston's, and they just have these voices that just overwhelm you with how strong they are. But you don't need that kind of voice to bring the same amount of power, and she delivers just as much power with a smaller, and as she describes it, she never even describes her voice as good. She's like, if I want to have a good voice, I'm going to have to take vocal lessons, I'm going to have to quit smoking. But it doesn't matter. Her voice delivers all the power that it needs to, without having to go to a 12 octave range. She's got a small range, but it's a small but mighty range, and you hear it, and it's just, it works. And a lot of the artists we listen to, they don't need that long, that big and powerful voice to convey everything that needs to be said.
Yeah, agreed. I just, powerful voice you're just you nailed it. I think that was the best thing that I liked about this album, is that she didn't have to, like, my wife and I talk about that a lot, is screaming. Why did they have to scream? This was, and I'll disagree with her. I think she's got a beautiful voice, and she doesn't need vocal lessons. But this is she is a woman that can sing, and what I mean, she sings. She doesn't scream. She doesn't do anything, and she can bring you up. Even though her voice is still at the same octave, she's going to bring you up. She's going to bring you down, and it was just, it flows, and it's a perfect flow. And at no point are you going, that she's going to mess us up.
Yeah,
she's trying to overpower it, and I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I think Rhodes is a really good example of, the smaller the voice, the more power it brings. So this album, I love this one. This one was what my wife voted as her favorite. And it starts with that kind of the bent notes and this kind of like, almost like saw-like guitar. And then her voice is almost shaking at points, and it gets so small and just giving you chills as you hear it, because it's the smallest vocals, nearly a whisper, and the emotion is bigger than any, runs that, these big artists can do, because they want to add 14 runs and go to a full scream. And like some bands that works. Like, all right, I listen to a lot of, punk and emo and that kind of stuff.
That works.
They're like, all right, you're bringing in the raw fierceness of your voice. Like Zach De La Rocha, he's bringing the fierce voice, and you don't want to hear him whisper, but if he does, he's about to belt out something loud before, and you don't want to, right after.
So, and he's not going to sing. And Zach De La Rocha is not going to sing. He's going to put it to you. And but that, you expect that from Zach. You expect that from him.
And if she tried to hit the big power, Adele notes, then we're going to hear, okay, she's not she doesn't have that kind of a range, but she doesn't need it. The music and her voice blend so beautifully together. And you can see why Jeff, when he heard her singing in different pubs and things, he knew, okay, this is who I'm going to make music with. This woman, because originally he was just going to make little one-off projects and songs here and there, and kind of like this thing, oh gosh, 07. They just record with different singers and they just do little one-off things. That was his original intent. And now he heard her sing. He's like, never mind. We're making a band and we're gonna feature her. And you can see why. I can imagine her playing this, dark jazz club and just hearing that voice in in that room. Yeah, you'd be hooked too and realize, okay, I have skills. Let's merge together and make something special. And yeah, they did. And yeah, it's funny because at the end of Rhodes, my note was, I just want to give Beth a hug and tell her, fuck that guy.
That's why that's one of my favorite songs.
Beth was wronged by the guy. And I'm like, all right, I just want to give her a hug and be like, you know what, fuck him. You deserve better and you'll get better, because damn, it's like the pain, you can't fake that. You can't be like, okay, let me put in some fake emotions here. It's like, nope. She's feeling them, they're real. And I think that's what makes the album stand out, is so much more authentic, is you believe everything you're hearing. It's not like you listen to it and you're like, yeah, that's artificial. And yeah, there's plenty of bands, I'm not going to start naming names because I'll bring on the hate, but you can tell they're just faking it. They're just bringing it out so they can sound good on the album. And like I said, no name dropping, but yeah, who's real, who's fake, and Beth, she's not putting it on for this album. And I haven't heard the other albums, and that's something I'll be definitely remedying. I'm gonna seek out the other 2 albums, but like always, I like to buy them on vinyl and play them that way, because I can't imagine that the other albums are gonna be bad. I mean, you never know. Things happen. They could decide that their third album, they're going to make a dance album, and it's EDM or something.
Ain't no way.
I'm gonna trust the fact that they're not gonna do that, because I mean, I've listened to all the Massive Attack albums and some are better than others, but they're all enjoyable to listen to. I mean, Mezzanine's a freaking masterpiece. We could cover that, but we've both heard it, so it wouldn't work for this show. But definitely seek that one out. We'll be checking out the one that Grant suggested as well. But yeah, that one, I went with that. That's, like I said, that's my wife's favorite. I had a hard time picking a favorite, honestly. There were some that I really loved. I love In Strangers. It starts with the beat, the hip hop beat dropping, and then the beat drops out, and you get Beth almost a cappella with like this kind of like minimal beat behind her. There's no tempo. It's
just
there's
a
no
very
drums.
Low.
Yeah,
it's just a very steady boom, 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 boom.
Just very low, and then the beat comes right back in, and it just like boom, just chills. Multiple times I'm getting the chills with this album, and that's that's the best thing I can say. If it's getting me there, then it's working. Then I also put in Sour Times. I love that because it feels like the rest of the album, she's just being trashed by love. Love is wrecking her. It's not giving her what she wants. And this one, where it's kind of like, it's her turn. She's putting the ultimatum on the man. Like, give me a reason to love you. And, I want to be a woman. So she's proclaiming like, all right, it's your turn. Step up. Stop being dog shit. I don't, I want to get the chance to be part of, to love you, and you need to make it happen. So I love that in that song. So it's like so many good moments on this album that, I think we'll have an easy one when we get to the skip this one section. But for now, let's talk about some lyrics. We're not listening to these lyrics for the happiness. There's not much happiness to be heard in these lyrics, but what were some ones that stood out to you on this album?
We've got a war to fight, never found our way, regardless of what they say. How can it feel this wrong? From this moment, how can it feel? Man, Rhodes.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Very, very good song. And yes, somebody done made her mad and somebody did her wrong. But I love that one. I'm going to go, let me pull up Numb here, because Numb is again, still one of the best. I'm tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. I don't know what you're expecting of me, put under the pressure of walking in your. No, that's not the right one. Why did that pull up? That's wrong. I'm sitting there reading. I have all my notes alphabetized, and I had.
Okay.
Sorry, I ever so lost. I can't find my way. Been searching, but I've never seen a turning from deceit. Because a child, Rose's light, tired to reveal what I could feel, numb. I that is
Yeah,
just
I mean
so
it's
freaking.
just powerful stuff. It's one of those things, and it closes out the side A on the vinyl, and it's
Yeah,
just like, oh damn, I need side B. It's like we talked about how some, if you don't close it right, especially side A, if you're listening to an only vinyl album. Now, granted, this one probably was released heavier in CD when it came out because '94 was more of a CD era where vinyl was more
yeah,
of the novelty. They would release limited numbers of vinyl, but it's one that like I gotta flip this thing. I want to know what's next because it just worked. So yeah, I had one of the lyrics I put on was from Sour Times, and it's
yeah,
after time, the bitter taste of innocent descent or race, scattered seeds, buried lives, mysteries of our disguise revolve, circumstances will decide. So it's just that sadness, that sourness, that it's all gone, and just the great stuff is gone, and what's left is the bitterness. All the innocence, all the happiness. You're just left with what's the raw ugliness of what
yeah.
what didn't work. So yeah, what was another one I had? I had
I'll do.
wandering wandering
Well,
star, where she said, those who have seen the needle's eye now tread like a husk from which all that was now has fled, and the masks that the monsters wear to feed upon their prey. So it's just, yeah, she's not seeing the happiness in the world. And it kind of reminds me, I know I don't I, I'm I'd have to look at timelines to see Mazzy Star. If you listen to Mazzy Star, it's
yeah,
also kind of very, very dark. Almost it's got that cinematic feel as well, just without the hip hop in there. It's kind of, Mazzy Star feels like Portishead if you take the hip hop elements out of it. Just
yeah.
has that 60s like cinematic vibe to it, but none of the backbeats that can get you bobbing your head. But if you listen to Mazzy Star and her, not Mazzy Star is not the name of the singer, and I'm hard pressed to remember, but Mazzy Star, the band, obviously, if you listen to them, it has that same kind of vibe, that almost helpless, lost in a world that's overwhelming you, that feeling
Yeah.
in there. So yeah, Biscuit had another one where it said, full fed, yet I still hunger, torn inside, haunted, I tell myself, yet I still wander down inside. So yeah, just that darkness in all of her lyrics.
This is like the fourth album in a row where I've really loved. Like I might not have loved all the entire album,
Mm-hmm.
but I have loved the entire uh, lyrics to the songs that were written.
Yeah.
And this might be, again, this might be one of this has moved into that upper echelon for me for 2025. And I've listened to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of albums
Yeah. Yeah,
this year.
you've been trying to knock them all out.
I
So
listened to a
yeah,
lot of
you've listened
albums
to
this
more
year.
than me, but it's definitely, it's if we're making a best of list, and we got to do that this year since we'll have covered a lot more albums. We have to do a best of the albums we've covered,
Yeah,
beyond just a best of what's released in 2025, because by the time we're done, we'll have looked at a lot of albums, where last year we
yeah,
hadn't looked at that many yet because we were just starting. But to run a best of 2025 albums that we've listened to, I think it's going to be hard to beat this, but we have a lot of good stuff coming up, so not impossible. So I'm
no,
interested to see
right, right.
where this would fall if we were making a ranking list of everything. So
As
yeah, the one,
yeah, as of right now, it's hard to dethrone this one in my upper echelon.
yeah,
Uh,
but we're
so
only in
yeah,
March, so we have months to
yeah,
go. We'll see where this goes, and we have a few requests. We're actually, I think, 3 requests now that we're going to have to add to
yeah.
our next batch. One of them is a Spanish language album, so that's fine. We're going to have to get the lyrics translated, but
Woo!
I listen to all kinds of weird shit in different languages. So I'm not off put by that. I listen to Spanish language. I listen to Japanese. I listen to French. I listen to Russian. I mean, it's hard to connect the same way. It's really, when you're listening to something in a different language, it's all vibes. I mean, it's not about the lyrics. It's not about anything, but it's the vibes that you can create. But I mean, I've written a story inspired by a song in Japanese. So yeah, I mean, the vibes can capture you in a way where it's like, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm feeling this still. So when we cover our Spanish language one, I'm gonna have to get the translation, and I'll send it over to you when we get it. But yeah, we have 3 requests. I know Pops has been asking us to cover the Dio Elf album since the beginning, and I've assured him it will be in our next batch, I guarantee. And then we have one that's just got requested yesterday for our May slot. So yeah, for our May and June should be fun. We'll have 3 requests, and yeah, then whatever we come up with ourselves. So lots of good stuff, but that's kind of getting ahead. I don't know. This, at this point, this is number 1. Last year would have been The Cure, because that ended up being our number 1 album anyway, even though it was stuff from 2025, but that one was the top. So now it's, what's the top for this year? It's going to be hard to beat it. But yeah, I think in the song, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm really intrigued with the Spanish album. So this should be fun.
So
that's
see.
What I like.
If
you guys are out there listening or watching on the replays, that's what I like. Throw us stuff like that. Throw us the foreign language albums, or stuff that just doesn't hit mainstream sometimes. Throw us out some musicals or ballet. I don't care. Just throw it out there. I'll listen to it.
We are wide open, and I can't guarantee we'll be nice. At least I don't know if I'll be nice, but we will be objective. So I know Sean, he had originally requested us to do an instrumental album, and that's what brought on the Godspeed You Black Emperor. And we were still able to talk for an hour about an album with no lyrics. So and that is all about vibes. And I think the Spanish language one will be very similar. It's going to be about the vibes, but the vibes can still move you, and you can be moved without understanding a word that's said. So we're going to see. We got that that was requested in our last week's episode. In the comments of the Lady Gaga, we had our Spanish album one. So yeah, our next batch, drop request, and our next batch might be all requests, and we are perfectly fine with that. We are happy, because the whole intention of this show and the reason we created it was we wanted to learn new stuff. We wanted to be like experiencing new albums that we wouldn't grab on the shelf, that we wouldn't necessarily walk in the record store and buy, because it's not in our normal wheelhouse. And Dash is bringing me stuff that's not in my wheelhouse. I'm bringing him stuff that's not in his. And the experience is just, it's a lot of fun. So what do you have for us? Drop it in the comments. Even if you're watching it later, let us know what you want to hear, what you want us to hear, what you want to have us listen to. Please, no yacht rock. But if you put it in there, I'm fucked and I have to listen to it, but that's okay. But yes, I will make the request. Please, no yacht rock. And now we're gonna get like all yacht rock requests. My wife's like, "Oh,
I'm all right with yacht rock."
My wife's about to drop like 14 yacht rock requests, because she's watched that yacht rock documentary on Max like 5 times already. So I watched it once. I mean, it was an entertaining documentary, but it made me realize I truly don't like yacht rock. So to torture me, if you want to see me tortured,
you done messed up, Ron. I'm gonna get some yacht rock in there now. No,
there's my wife. There she is. Yacht rock. No, honey, you don't hate me that much. Oh man. Or I will pay like.
I got you.
See,
I got you, April. I got you.
But I got you. Come on. Don't do this to me. Leave me alone. So yes, so there we go. My request for no yacht rock. It's already too late. She's gonna torture me, and then we'd have to own it. So oh man, don't do this to me. You know better. You come on. So we've been married almost 25 years. Since when have we ever tortured each other? So, I don't know. Oh no, it's like, all right, it's on. I'm
That's
in
awesome.
trouble.
That's
So
great.
all right, so there you go. Your requests will be honored, even if they're yacht rock. Now it's just like, yes, I'm gonna get the catalog of yacht rock shit on vinyl now. So she found a way to make me have to go buy it all. All right.
We're gonna do nothing but we're gonna do one whole live show of talking nothing but yacht rock now. We're gonna make this happen.
The
I
yacht
got you,
rock
April.
review. Oh man.
Yes, not just albums, songs, entire hour of songs of yacht rock.
Man, we'll have to
That's
see. We
awesome.
got to get a good guest for that. Where's Chuck? We can
Yeah,
get Chuck on.
yeah, Chuck. Yeah, we need Chuck for that one for
I
sure.
don't know if Chuck hates yacht rock or loves yacht rock, but yes, Chuck, if you're listening, you got to join us for the yacht rock review that my wife's going to torture me for. So I don't know if they have a soundtrack to that Max documentary, but there you go. So yeah. Oh man. So we have derailed. We always do at least once.
As
So
always, as
if it's
always.
if it's not, if we don't lose track at least once, it's not an episode of with me, because I definitely, as we say in my house, the squirrel dog moments where I'm like squirrel.
Yes.
So yes, we've had our squirrel dog moment. Now, any other lyrics that stood out to you before we move on?
I think, like I said, I mean, again, this is one of those albums where we could sit there and break down every song, every lyric, and what they and how good they really are.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this is an album where you listen to the lyrics because
Mm-hmm.
they're all fantastic, every one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, one of our early commenters, he said it well, and he just said, dropping in to say, it's a perfect album. I mean, you
Yeah.
could study the lyrics. We talked about taking the lyrics from the Mr. Gnome album and studying them in a college, taking the ones from Kate Bush and studying them at a university. This is another album. You could take it in there, and that's what I need to do. I need to go get hired
Yeah.
at a college and just do lyric study, because so
This-
many albums that we could throw at people that aren't just the norm. I think it could be something amazing. Like just looking at this and just connecting those lyrics with the tone of the music as well. Because yeah, I mean, Mr. Gnome, Kate Bush, this album, they have such deep lyrics that you could look at it and just study it for days, and it would be great if they offered a course, or we decided, all right, Dash and I offer the online course on these lyrics, because there's a lot you can dig into.
This is one of those albums where if you're ready to become a screenwriter, you have about 5 to 6 movies alone
Right here, yeah.
in this album. You have ideas for. I kid you not. I was sitting there trying to figure out how I could take some of these and make them into novels today. I literally when I was doing my things, I was like, this one's good. No, I mean, I'm already trying to work something with Numb, so I'll just throw that out there. But
that's yours. You own that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had talked
I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, no, let's see it. That sounds amazing. And yeah, I just love, one other thing I wanted to talk about in the lyrics was, this isn't actually her lyric, but in Biscuit, where you have that sample. It's from Johnny Ray's I'll Never Fall in Love, but they warp it and take it into this like low, I will never fall in love. And it's just so, I love it. And I more couch metaphors. I said it's like the warped monster talking to you in the back of your head when you're at your most vulnerable. And it's just like you hear that voice in the back of your head just saying you're not going to fall in love. And it's all the negative that exists in you when everyone's at their worst moments. You just have that voice in the back of your head, and it's ugly, and it's a monster. And that's what this sounds like. Just, it's telling her you're not going to fall in love again. And you're going to be tortured. And it's just, that's the voice. I imagine that as the voice in her head telling her that she's not going to find that happiness. And then I think it just kind of, when it closes out, we get that the brightest spot of the album, which is not a bright one, but just like, okay, I just want to be a woman, and it's your chance. You have the chance to make this happen. So finally, not that, shutting the tortured voice up for a minute and bringing it back to that. So yeah, that brings us to our last category, Actually, we have one category. It will be quick and brief. Any skips?
Nope.
I skipped nothing. There were certain ones the first time I listened to them, I said skip question mark, and then as the song progressed, like just crossed it out. Like, nope, never mind. It got back, it got there. And there was one I wrote. It just built well. I said it's like, lounge music from the underworld, and it's just that's what I'm listening to, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and that is not an insult. So if you're thinking, if anyone thinks that is an insult, no, that's the highest. That's the highest regards I can give to it. It's lounge music that you would play in the underworld, and as darkness surrounds you, and you're okay with it. Because this album, it surrounds you in darkness, but it's darkness like a blanket, and you can just live in it, and it's a beautiful place to be. I don't want to live there all the time though, so I'm gonna go with we'll take some sunny, let me get some horny Lady Gaga back on to bring me back into the world of happiness and her going man hunting. So this one, it's not for that, but another easy category. We keeping this one, returning it to the used bin.
No,
it's staying. I'm not going to try to return it where they're going to bring out the shotgun like the Kate Bush one. Nope. I'm keeping this one.
Lori does not have anything to destroy with this album.
Yeah, Lori, you may not have this album. You may not put out any of your insane ass weapons to destroy it. I'm keeping this one. I've already played it at least like 3 or 4 times on vinyl, and I will continue to play it. I will be seeking out their other albums because it's worth it. It's kind of like what we found when we discovered Sharon Jones. It's like, I want more. I want to know what else she has. Oh damn, I forgot we found Sharon Jones this year. That one's gonna be on the top as well. Yeah, we've had some good shit this year, I'll have to say. Aside from our torture moment, we've enjoyed some good music.
Yes, we have. 100%.
Because I'm thinking, it's like, all right, I love the Mr. Gnome. I loved the Sharon Jones, and 38 Special was fun. I had a good time with it. It's not.
That was a good one.
I'm not going for that every day, but I think it's more because it's older, and it's like I'm always trying to discover the new stuff that I really am truly unfamiliar with, not the stuff that I heard on the radio growing up. So there's nothing wrong with that.
It was fun because we got to have a good time with it. And
we had a good time on that episode.
Yeah.
So Lori, if you're listening, you can come join us anytime, and we'll lose our minds, and I'll go completely bonkers, and we'll make up a new ska band. Yes. So all right. So next week we have one that I know absolutely nothing about. I don't know one of his songs. I don't know what his songs would even sound like, and that's what makes it fun. It's Ryan Bingham, American Love Song.
If you're a fan of Yellowstone, you know who Ryan Bingham is. So if you've watched Yellowstone, you know who he is. I've heard a couple of his songs from Yellowstone, and that was what made me want to purchase this. And I bought it just specifically for this show for us because I've never heard it, and I bought it specifically for this show so we could do it the first time on this one. And I think it's just, again, if he's anything like the songs on Yellowstone, this is going to be a great album.
Yeah, and I've never watched Yellowstone, so I am truly coming in blind. And like I said, I love it. I love coming in blind. I love the suggestions that people have made for us. I love walking in blind to those because that's what makes it fun. Discover something that you would have never discovered otherwise, and hopefully it grabs you. Because this year we have discovered some really good stuff, and we've kind of listened to the stuff that we already knew, that we already enjoyed, but these new discoveries, I mean, these are all albums that live with me well beyond the show. And I'm hoping Ryan Bingham becomes one of those. Because I've purchased everything from this wave. We picked 8 again. We each picked our next 4. And I have it all on vinyl except for one, because I am not dropping $100 on any of the ones for the show. I would love to, but I just can't. Because
that's the Bad Company one.
Company, yeah. And it's way out of print. There's a new print coming out. I'm gonna see if it's on time, because then it's the regular price. So I'm actually we have that as our last. So It's a Bad Company's final album, will be the last one we cover in this cycle of albums. And the reason being is putting it last is hoping that the vinyl comes down so that I can actually purchase it. Because I like to say that I've bought all of them on vinyl, but yeah, there's kind of a limit. And that limit is,
it's $100.
I'm not going to $100, even if it's a band I love. Even if it's,
Agreed.
one that I know I'm most likely going to enjoy, I can't drop $100. Our last batch was the Amy Winehouse was a damn pain in the ass to get, but I managed to get it for a reasonable price. But I had to do an auction on eBay and wait. So yeah, it's one of those ones where that was our hardest one in that batch. Now this one, it's the Bad Company, but hopefully I'll have it in time. If not, it's still streamable, so I can listen to it one way or the other. But next week, Ryan Bingham, that's my Saturday tunes that I'll be listening to. And yeah, now we got to, as always, close it out with a few of our sponsors. And then we will say goodbye until next week. So let me pull up those sponsors for us. So here we go. First one. Hey, Josh, thanks for watching. Glad you tuned in. We just wrapped up the album, but you can definitely go back. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, and you can check out the whole episode and watch Dash and I gush about another album. We do gush sometimes, and this one was one of those ones where we had lots of good stuff to say. So let's check out Chris Brown.
Yeah.
So, Chris, to answer your question, and it looks like Madness Network got it up there as well. It's Finish Line Comics on YouTube. The link is right here, and it's going up on all the different platforms, so you can check it out. It is, if you search it up, it's unfortunately there's a couple bigger ones if you type in Finish Line Comics, but if you go to the Finish Line Comics /GE6ZM, it'll take you there, and we have multiple episodes we've done. This is actually episode 18 of our music show, so this is our 18th album that we've covered. We threw in a Christmas album as well, so you want to hear about the Jethro Tull Christmas album and Pirates, then you got to tune in. So yes, so people still talking about this album. Yeah, I mean it's on. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it was one of the Rolling Stone top 500 albums of all time. It's number 419 on their list. So people still talking about it because it's getting lots of retrospective reviews. Pitchfork reviewed it, I think, only a few years ago, because it's one of those albums that people will be talking about for a long time, because there's not a lot of great trip hop albums that came out. And these ones, you know, you talk about the Massive Attack Mezzanine, you talk about this one, you talk about Tricky's Max and Quay, and yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. So yeah, Josh, please check out our stuff. And as we were saying earlier, you are free to drop any suggestions that you have. If you have an album that you would like us to review, feel free to drop it in. And if we haven't heard it before, we will add it to our list. So yeah, we have 3 requests coming up in our next cycle. So yeah, please definitely drop in what you want to see. And oh, they're still watching the Final Destination movies. Yeah, I'm actually deep diving into the Final Destination movies. We've watched 1 through 4, my wife and I, and tonight we're watching number 5 to close them all out. And I don't know, I hope 5 is better than 4, because that was a rough ride, that one. CG slogfest of cheap 3D gimmicks, the worst. So yeah, we're watching those. Funny that you would mention that, because we're on our last one. But now, speaking of last one, we got one more ad to play from one of our sponsors. Thank you to all our sponsors. We appreciate you. And I always wait till the end, because I will never remember in the middle, and I will lose my train of thought. And I lose my train of thought bad enough as it is. I am not good at that. So, okay, so AC/DC and Linkin Park. We did Linkin Park. If you go into our archive, we did the new Linkin Park album, because we had heard the older ones. We wouldn't have found any of the older ones to talk about, but we talked about the new Linkin Park with their new singer, and generally, yeah, we enjoyed most of it. That one did have skips. It's not a no skip kind of album, but you know, a good rising from the ashes Phoenix moment for the band, and well deserved for them, because the tragedy that happened with Chester, I'm glad the band was able to recover. But yeah, we have covered a Linkin Park album, so definitely check it out. And if you can think of any ones, if we haven't heard them, I mean, it does have to be one we haven't heard, because that's the whole premise of the show if you're just kind of tuning in. But let me get here to, I'm not finding the last video because my eyesight, as we've discussed, is crap. So I do my best. But yeah, at least I don't have dilated eyes this time, because last week,
right,
that was a freaking adventure, doing the entire show where I couldn't see shit. I'm trying to read my notes, and they're like they're pulsing. Like, my notes shouldn't have a heartbeat. This is wrong. So yeah, let's check out our next sponsor. All right, that looked like a Patronus, so big sexy outlaw, like a Harry Potter Expecto Patronum. I feel like we could have called that out. Let me see though. We've played, I don't know if we played Leviathan. Let's see. Let me check. I think we have 4 sponsors. There we go.
When a series of shipping disasters points to a mysterious sea monster, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson leave the comfort of Baker Street and board a freighter where they encounter unexpected betrayal and come face to face with the enigmatic Captain Nemo and his submarine, the Nautilus. As they delve deeper into the case, they uncover a conspiracy involving a Russian Tsar with an airship that rains destruction on unsuspecting cities. With time running out and the world on the brink of war, the heroes must use all their skills and resources to stop a massive conspiracy and prevent global conflict. From Eisner-winning writer Mike Barron and illustrator Richard Bonk, dive into the depths of adventure and unravel the mysteries of the sea with the world's greatest detective in Leviathan. Order now at baroncomics.com.
We definitely haven't seen that one. That shit looks good.
That looks good.
I'm writing my own Sherlock Holmes story, and that artwork looks so good. The story, I mean, I love Sherlock Holmes, and I love that you can play with it in the public domain. So that's a beautiful thing. And I know we have one more to play, and that is the parodies one, because I remember that one. Need more stuff like Mad Magazine to be running in real time. So here we go. Here's something if you like that kind of parody stuff.
It's Flip City Magazine, The Parodies, Special Edition, with savage send-ups of The Walking Dead, Star Trek Picard, Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, Guardians of the Galaxy, and more from the first 4 years of Flip City. Get Flip City The Parodies free when you subscribe in print at flipcitymag.com. The world's best satire magazine, and never, ever woke.
All right, so I saw Weird Al in there. I'm like, are you parodying Weird Al? Because that's like multiple levels of parody right there.
That's going king parody right there.
That's too meta for me. I'm fucked up after that. Like, how can you parody a parody artist? It's like a parody of fat. I don't know. Now I can't think anymore. All right, so let's see. He's saying he's waiting for Final Destination 6. Dash has his comment in there. Hell Comes to Texas. It's hard to see, but if you look behind me, it is on my bookshelf. And right next to Immortal Era, if you look like right there, where my finger is, there's Immortal Era. There. And then next to it is, I don't know. I'm going to break my brain trying to stare at the screen and figure out where I'm pointing. But yes, behind me, I have both books. You need both books too. And if you want to go, if you want that, you want dashes, you go to Amazon. If you need a hardcover of Immortal Era, late pledges are still available. So don't miss out. So what's he saying? He's writing an interview story on people who signed up for a story. All right. That is, all right. Do it. And when you get it done, send it to Pops and you can become a sponsored video we play just like the other ones. And yeah, definitely grab your copy of Hell Comes to Texas. Immortal Era still available on late pledges, but Immortal Era 11 will be coming very quickly. Other books are coming from the printer. So if you're a backer, they're coming from the printer. I think they guaranteed them by like April 1st. So yeah, get your Dash book in like 3 days from Amazon though. That's how I got mine. So you can get yours so it can go on your bookshelf and look as good as it does on mine. But that's right. Besides that, thank you for tuning in, Dash. Thanks for joining me again. I always love talking music with you as long as it's not yacht rock. So yes, but I feel like I've just dug my own grave. So yes, I'm going to be in the headspace of Beth Gibbons in a minute. Like too much yacht rock's going to take me to her headspace. So yes. That's awesome. So we're not online tomorrow, but if you tune in Saturday morning, I'll be doing my Saturday morning comic talk. And if you ever want to be a guest on that, you just got to drop us a link. Drop me on Facebook a message. I book guests all the time. And thank you, Pops. Enjoyed it today. Pop. And hopefully, if you did listen to the album, hopefully we didn't torture you like last time. But Pops got yelled at too for not liking Kate Bush. So welcome to the club. Pops like us does not care. So that's good.
That's right.
If you take it to heart, you're gonna cry. Just politely respond to the 8-paragraph calling you a 10-year-old, and it's all good. So until next week, where we will be covering Ryan Bingham. Join me on Saturday for Saturday morning comic talk, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, so 12:30 if you're on the East Coast, and join me on that. So, all right, sounds good, Josh. We'll see you on Saturday morning, and have a great week.
Click on the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battles and fast-paced speed. From capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. Uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens days. Hey! New uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that